We're on this little tour of Sheep Street then, most haunted place probably in the north of England. We've just talked about one ghost farm. Here, Carling Jones it's called these days, but at one time that was a lovely little place. They sold crystals and things like that. And it had a cold spot and you could go and feel it. And lots of things moved about in that building. Over here, another wonderful haunting that's gone on here. I've got very interested in this one over the years. Mr. Crump, the chemist. He was the chemist for Skipton. These was his buildings. When he died, he actually committed suicide. No one knows why. He lived on his own. Perhaps he was just a lonely man. But he never left. He never left the place. Children have come here and looked for him and said they've seen him looking out the windows. But the thing is, he's probably quite happy with this building as it is now. But when it gets changed, if people come in here and they want to make it into something with lots of music, he comes back. He'll come back here and he'll start making his presence known. He actually appeared on the cover of one of my books, believe it or not. The book I did on Skipton, on the dark side of Skipton. I had the story of his ghosting, took a group of people to his graveside, we took some photographs. When the photograph came out, and I didn't know at that time that it was actually his grave. Just picked a grave, went there, and there was this white thing on the front. When I went back, good old Mr. Crump had put in an appearance for me, basically. So we go back a little bit more steadily. We've got what was the old town hall here. It's now a pizzeria, as you can see. This was built in the 1600s by Lady Anne Clifford of Skipton Castle. Now, some fantastic hauntings. A soldier has been seen in there, moving about. But one of the best things was a few years ago, it became a teddy shop. Thousands and thousands of teddies and dolls in there. And the people that had it, after about 2 weeks, rang me and asked me to come in there. I went in there and they said, oh, our teddies are flying about, moving about. And one of the worst stories I've ever heard that the lady told, and this is why they left, it wasn't so much about the teddies moving or forming themselves into circles, but they actually saw a baby's sort of outfit, which they had there, a doll's outfit, walking across the floor with nothing inside it, just walking between the two people. And that was it. They locked that and they left there. It's still apparently haunted, although when I go in now they say, oh well, we don't really know about that sort of thing. But then it was definitely probably the most frightening place. If we carry on down a little bit longer. W.H. Smith's used to be haunted. They used to hear music in there, and what was discovered in there actually is it's got a balcony, and they used to have musicians up there going back many years ago, so perhaps it's something like that. Now the Three Sheep Tea Room that we're coming up onto the left here, lovely old lady haunts that. She haunts it, she sits in there. People go sit there and they feel a presence there. I actually did some ghost nights there. People were sat there and I said, have you started to feel hot? And people said, it's so hot in this corner. And I said, oh, she's come and joined you. And it was like that. The funniest story, and there's lots more here, is here. So I'm going to tell this story very quickly for you. And then we carry on, if you wish. This now, of course, is what's called Dale Edison's. It's an estate agent's. At one time it was a bank. Going back, though, 200 years ago, in the early 1800s, this place was a pub. Now it was bought out by a gentleman. This gentleman was a very bad man. He was a cattle rustler. He had a gang. And what he needed was a place where he could actually plan, you know, their raids, whatever they were doing. So he bought this place and he renamed it the Mason's Arms. That's what he called it. Nice, respectable name, you might think. But he wasn't going to fill it full of respectable people. What he wanted to do was to create something here where only the worst people in town would come, the fighters, you know, the people that was violent and everything, because that would keep everybody else away. And this was, of course, before you really had a police force. There's some magistrates and bailiffs and things. But he would be up here on the first floor planning all his robberies and whatever he was doing, whilst down here there'd be hell on earth going on, because he'd have everything going on. Most of the beer he gave away to attract people in, but then he also started to attract prostitutes. So it was like anything goes. It became a knocking shop, the Skipton knocking shop, and everybody came to it. However, it became so popular that he no longer needed to have his gangs, so he got rid of his gang and he started actually to trade this properly, but totally as a place where you could come here, drink your fill, take a woman, do whatever you might with them. But the funniest part about it was, by this time, of course, the local prostitutes, the local women of the night that he used for this probably wasn't quite good enough, or perhaps the men that he was attracting wanted something a little bit more upmarket. So he put an advert in the paper and he says, come to my pub. He said, you will not find Skipton's women of the night, or Skipton prostitutes here. What you will find is high-class prostitutes from Keighley. The most frightening story of all. To finish it quickly, soon after that, the bailiffs got together with the church people and people that had had enough of this. They came here, they went in and smashed it up. The prostitutes were sent back to Keighley and everybody else was basically locked up or beaten up. And it just went back to being a normal building after that. I think it continued to be a pub, but there was no more of the bad things that had happened. Hilarious story and a hilarious part of Skipton's history. One that when I tell people love, and I designed this as part of the Ghost Walk to bring people back down when they've been frightened by Val or other people on it.